welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Anna and today we're making tres leches cake. If you're not familiar with a tres leches cake, it's a sponge cake soaked in 3 different kinds of milk. That's why it's called 3 milks cake, because it's soaked in 3 different kinds of milk. It's so incredibly just moist and light and kind of fluffy. So let me show you the ingredients so we can head right in. In this bowl I have some cake flour. If you don't have cake flour, you can use all-purpose flour. I personally like to use cake flour. Find that it gives you more of like a light cake, but all-purpose flour will do. I also have a little bit of baking powder, some salt. I have egg yolks, egg whites. You want them separate because you're gonna see right now. Whole milk, vanilla extract, sugar, and a tiny bit of melted butter. This is going to be the base for the sponge cake, and then obviously you're going to need a few other ingredients, but I'm going to show you what they are once we get to that point. I'm just going to mix my baking powder, cake flour, and salt together. I did sift my cake flour because flour, especially cake flour, can be a little lumpy. So I did sift it, and I recommend you do it too. It only takes like 30 seconds, and in my opinion makes a big difference. You also want to start preheating your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit so it's ready by the time your cake is ready, because it just comes together so quickly. And last thing, you're also going to need a 9x9 or an 8x8. It's actually an 8x8 baking dish. I'm going to grease it with a little bit of baking spray, or you can do it with a little bit of butter. For now, here's what I'm gonna do. I have my egg yolks, and to it I'm going to add most of my sugar, leaving a little bit behind because we're going to use that sugar for the egg whites. And I'm just going to mix until we form a very creamy mixture. Okay, this is looking great. You want your egg yolks to go from a very bright color to a very creamy, kind of like pale yellow color, so you can see. This is exactly what you want. Let me just go around the edges to make sure everything is well incorporated. To the egg yolks, we're going to add the milk. We're also going to add our cooled melted butter. Some people don't really add butter to their tres leches cake, but I find that the butter just gives it a really buttery, delicious taste, and it's not a lot of butter at all. So, and you're also going to add your vanilla extract. Now we're going to mix this just until everything is well incorporated. Okay, this just takes few seconds. Now we have our wet ingredients ready to go. Now it's time to work on our egg whites. Now with a clean whisk, you want to beat your egg whites until they form stiff peaks. Okay, now that my egg whites are kind of frothy, as you can see, I'm going to start adding in the sugar a little bit at a time with the mixer on. Okay, my egg whites are looking beautiful. They're really shiny and creamy. You kind of want the consistency. If you ever made a pavlova or meringues before, you kind of want the same consistency. Look how beautiful. Look, doesn't move, it just stays. This is what stiff peaks mean. This is what's going to make your cake very light and airy and beautiful. Let me set this aside for just 1 minute because I want to mix my wet ingredients with my flour. So I'm just going to add everything in. I'm going to mix this with my hand mixer once again. Okay, you want to mix it just until it comes together. It's really important not to overmix your cake batter. Now it's time to add our egg whites. And you want to do this, I like to do this in 2 batches so we don't deflate our egg whites, because that would be a real shame. So we go in with half and we just fold in the egg whites into the mixture. Very slowly, very gentle. You have to be patient. And trust me, it will mix in. That this is mostly mixed in. We mix in the rest of the egg whites. So I have my prepared baking dish. I sprayed it with a little bit of butter, baking spray or cooking spray. And my cake is beautiful. It's so light. Okay, now we're going to add this, all of it, right into the baking dish. Okay, this looks good. Now this is going to bake in our preheated oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. My cake is done baking. I've been letting it come to room temperature, so it's been resting for, I would say, probably 30 minutes. It's still a tiny bit warm. I can feel it on the bottom, but it's mostly cooled. And this is what we're gonna do now. So you wanna grab a fork and you wanna make holes all over the cake, because that's where we're going to add our milk mixture. In here, I'm going to combine, I would suggest using a measuring cup, like a big one if you have it, but it's gonna be easier to pour your milk mixture all over. So I have sweetened condensed milk. I have my evaporated milk. I'm going to add about half the can, just because the written recipe is going to ask for 1 can of evaporated milk, 1 can of condensed milk, just because that's the full recipe. I cut my recipe in half because I don't need, I have pretty much no one to share this with, aside from 1 or 2 people. So now that this is mixed, you want to very slowly, you have to do this with a lot of patience, very slowly pour your milk mixture all over your cake. Okay, so I'm gonna let that just evaporate into the cake before I add the rest. So you can see, look how the cake just like soaks all of the mixture. So now we just very patiently again add the rest of the mixture. Now I'm going to cover this with some plastic wrap, because I'm going to pop this into my fridge for at least 1 hour. Obviously, I recommend that if you have the time, you do it overnight, because the longer the cake sits, the longer it has to really absorb all of that beautiful cake, beautiful milk mixture. So it's going to get really moist and really delicious. So mine is just going to go into the fridge, said like 2 hours. Then I'll be right back to show you the final step and we get to eating. My tres leches has been in the fridge for 2 hours, so it's the perfect time to make our topping, which is just some whipped cream. We're missing my vanilla extract. Here I have some cold, heavy whipping cream. It's important that it's cold so it whips very nicely. Some powdered sugar and a little bit of vanilla extract. So all I'm gonna do is pretty much add my powdered sugar. I did sift my powdered sugar to remove any lumps. I'm going to add a little splash of vanilla extract, and now with my hand mixer I'm going to mix until we have stiff peaks. Okie dokie, my whipped cream is looking great. You have to be careful you don't whip it too much, because then it's just going to turn into butter, and we don't want that. So you can see, so here's my tres leches. It has soaked all all of that beautiful milk mixture. Like I said, it's best. This is like one of those cakes that is best if you do it the night before, because it really benefits from sitting in the fridge, or you can do it really, really early in the morning if you're gonna serve it in the evening. We are going to pretty much spread the whipped cream all over the top. So you want to spread it as evenly as you can all over. You can either leave it like this and just add a few strawberries to the top, but this is what I personally like to do. So I like to grab a fork, and with it I'm going to make a little bit of a design. I'm going to press down, and we're gonna create kind of like a little triangle shape. Okay, so we go in again the other way. So essentially it will be more of like a diamond shape. You can either press down or you can drag it. This would be an option, and as you can see, you have some sort of a design and it's not as plain. Okay, so to serve it, I have a strawberry. I'm only gonna cut my little slice for today, but I'm going to make a few little slits in my strawberry so I can fan it out. And then you want to fan it out like this. So I'm going to cut my slice. The first little slice is the worst one. It's so hard to remove. Okay, there we go. Doesn't look that terrible. I like to serve mine with the little fan, the little strawberry on top, and there you have it. The Tres Leches cake. I don't know if you guys can tell, but look how moist it is. Look at that. Such a beautiful cake. It's very light, very spongy. I like that it's not too overly sweet. I mean, Tres Leches cake is supposed to be a sweet cake, obviously, but it's not too overly sweet. So this is it for me today. I'm going to continue enjoying my cake. Get the written recipe on my website, anitasdelightsrecipes.com. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.